Whether you're preparing for a short-term emergency, planning for a couple of weeks of uninterrupted meals, or building a long-term food reserve, understanding the difference between 3 days, 3 weeks, and long-term storage is essential. Each option requires unique strategies for food selection, storage, and meal planning. Hello, everybody, and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa, and we are all about pantry preparedness. And today, I'm going to get some work done that I need to get done. I'm rebagging up some pinto beans and some rice for my long-term storage. And I thought this would be a great time to talk about the 3-day, the 3-week, or long-term, because I know that that can kind of twist your brain sometimes, right? Today, we're going to talk about how to tailor your food supply based on duration, ensuring balanced nutrition, budget efficiency, and maximum shelf life. By following these steps, you can build a storage system that meets your household's needs no matter what challenge arises. So number one, we're going to assess your needs and your risks. You need to determine short-term 3-day, mid-term 3-week, or long-term storage based on potential emergencies like power outages, natural disasters, or extended supply chain interruptions. Remember that Texas never intended for a snowmageddon, but it happened. And just recently, northeastern Michigan never intended for an ice apocalypse where people are still, after 2 weeks, without power. So you need to take into consideration that Mother Nature has a plan all her own. And so our best defense is to be prepared for what might come. A 3-day kit might be sufficient for a brief power outage, whereas long-term storage is ideal for more uncertain scenarios like hurricanes, floods, and ice apocalypses. Next, you want to determine types of foods that are required. So for a 3-day storage, this is easy to focus on easy to prepare, high energy foods like ready to eat meals, bottled water, basic canned goods that provide immediate sustenance. I will link a video at the end of this showing you how to set up a 3-day food supply. Next is a 3-week food supply. So for this one, you're going to think a little bit more because you know those ready to eat super easy things are not ideal if you have to eat them every single day for 3 weeks. It will tank morale and most likely mess with your system. So you want to include a mix of non-perishables and some fresh items or frozen meals to maintain balanced nutrition over several weeks. Prioritize foods with extended shelf lives, such as dried grains, legumes, freeze-dried meals, freeze-dried food, period. I'm not a big fan, of the meals in a jar. And preservation methods like canning or vacuum sealing. You don't want to forget your water, okay? Minimum is 2 gallons per person per day. Don't forget the dog. Okay, so for an example, a 3-day storage, consider pre-made sandwiches or canned soup for 3 weeks. Combine canned vegetables with pasta or rice. For long-term, stock up on bulk rice and beans and dehydrated fruits and vegetables. Super simple. You can get everything that you need that way, and it doesn't take up a whole bunch of space. Number 3 on this is to plan your meal menus. I know, spontaneity and all that fun stuff, right? But in the middle of a crisis, in the middle of an emergency, whether that is financial or medical or weather related, right? The last thing that you want to do is be spontaneous. Trust me on this one. So figure out a 3-day menu. It's simple. Design simple menus that require minimal preparation and can be quickly assembled. So think of your canned soups. Think of tuna salad. Think of chicken salad. Think of, simple things like that. If you're looking at making a menu for a 3-week span of time, then you want to design simple menus that require minimal preparation and can be quickly assembled. Again, you're looking at 3 weeks, so you're going to hopefully have a heat source like a fondue pot or a propane burner or a grill, something that you can heat food up on. So for 3 weeks, that's what you want to focus on. Now, when you're looking at long term, that doesn't mean stock up on stuff that you don't eat. If you don't eat rice today, it is highly unlikely that you're going to eat rice then. So there's no sense in stocking up for it. It should always be items that you currently eat today, okay, or that you will eat. So for long term, you want to develop recipes that make the most of your preserved ingredients while considering variety and flavor retention. And this is pretty easy to do when you look at some of these long-term options like oats and rice and your canned foods, right? You can make up a bunch of different stuff. Just as a simple example, a 3-day menu might include a ready-to-eat breakfast bar, lunch canned tuna with crackers, or a microwavable dinner if you have power, right? A 3-week menu could rotate between pasta, rice dishes, and canned stews. Just by adding some pasta or rice to canned stews and soups, it creates an entire meal and it's filling and nutritious. Long-term menus might incorporate rehydrated freeze-dried meals and fresh spices. So remember to keep your spices stocked up. Number 4, you really need to organize your food storage areas. So separate zones, whether you have it all in one room like I do or scattered throughout, you want certain zones to be for certain things. Designate different storage areas for short-term, mid-term, and long-term supplies. There is no reason, just as a caveat here, that these foods can't be the same foods, okay? They're just in shorter quantity, smaller quantity, or instead of having whole rice, you've got minute rice in your 3-day or 3-week, So it can all be the same foods, but have them, my 3-day supply is here so that you don't have to hunt around, you just go there. If I'm looking at a short term, my 3-week is here. Long term, this is where all of my long-term storage goes, and sort it from there. So, a different example is use one shelf in your pantry for 3-day essentials. One shelf. That's more than enough room. A larger bin for your 3-week kit. So at that point, you can put together the kit and put it in a Rubbermaid tote or something like that. And a dedicated storage area or cooler area for long-term food supplies. Remember, cool, dark, and dry is the preferred option regardless of the time. Invest in proper storage equipment, and it is an investment because it's something that you are going to use repeatedly, and it will save you a lot of time and a lot of money as time moves forward. The return on investment is always fantastic with these. You want to look at containers and packaging, airtight containers, vacuum sealers, and canning jars to extend the shelf life of long-term storage items. A vacuum sealer alone helps preserve the quality of dried goods, while stackable bins are ideal for organizing 3-week supplies. Number 6, you want to be sure, trust me on this one, to label and date your food supplies, okay? You want to make sure that you're doing this. Don't trust your memory, because at some point, I guarantee you, your memory is not going to come through for you. Clearly label each container with a preparation date and expiration, or, if you want to write Best Buy, Best Buy. But it's not, most of the stuff, with the exception of the 3-day, is something that will last for quite a while. So you want to put the year that it, this is what I do. I put the year that I'm putting it up, and I put what it is, because I can do the math and I know that it has X amount of years. Like the rice is good for 30 years plus. So I know that in 2055, if I'm still here, which I'm not sure I want to be, but that, I'll still be able to eat that rice if it's still here. I hope it's not. Use waterproof markers or label printers to ensure information is legible and permanent. And trust me, legible makes a difference from the queen of bad handwriting. Number 7, you really want to create part of your budget for this. So budget your purchases. Put aside, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever the amount is, out of your budget. Take it from another area and use that money 100% for stocking your pantry. First, you build that 3-day kit. Then you build that 3-week kit, and then you work on rotating your long-term pantry. Remember, it's always a matter of rotation. It is not a set it and forget it. You need to understand that long-term storage might require an upfront investment in bulk purchases and specialized equipment, while 3-day kits can be assembled with everyday grocery items, with the exception of fresh fruits and vegetables, obviously. So allocate a higher budget for the long-term items like freeze-dried meals while planning a cost-effective menu for your 3-day kit. Now here's the fun part, because like I say, it's not a matter of set it and forget it. It just doesn't work that way. You want to test your meal plans. Do trial runs. Regularly prepare meals from each storage category to ensure they meet your nutritional tastes and expectations. Don't assume that, oh, well, this is what, it's made of, so I'll just throw it together willy-nilly and it'll be fantastic, because it might not be. It might be too salty, or it might not be flavorful enough. It might not have enough of this ingredient or too much of that ingredient. And you won't know until you actually create it and test it. Also, by creating and testing it, if anything needs to be rehydrated, like your freeze-dried or your dehydrated foods, then you can practice with how much water and make note of that on your packages or with your kits, because that's another thing, that water is a precious commodity regardless of the day, time, year, or event. And so knowing how much water you need in order to create these meals to eat is an important factor. Once a month, use ingredients from your 3-week kit to cook a full meal and adjust the portions or seasonings if needed. Make notes of anything that you think is important that you won't remember if it's a stressful situation. During a stressful situation, if you have not undergone one before, this is a time when you don't want to rely on your memory, because there's so much coming at you. The adrenaline is high, the stress is even higher, and so relying on your memory is a big, big mistake. But if you write it down and slip it in with these kits, or have a manual that you create with this information that is learned and collected while you test them out, then there's no way to fail, okay? Next, we're going to talk about maintaining and rotating your stocks. I know, my friends, first in, first out, right? Because, again, it's not a set it and forget it. You don't go shopping one time, spend $500 to $1,000, and then walk away and never do anything with it. It doesn't work that way, because when the emergency hits, if it hits, then you're going to be lost as exactly how to handle it. And it may have aged out where it's no longer palatable, where it's no longer safe, or, it just looks really bad, like worse than ugly chicken even, okay? So use the first in, first out method to prevent spoilage and ensure that your supplies remain fresh. Regularly incorporate items from your long-term storage into everyday meals and replace them with new stock. I'm going to use my coffee as an example for this. Our membership group, the Pantry Pals, at one point a couple weeks ago, I showed them my 5-gallon bucket of coffee, okay? It's not as awesome as you think. It is a bunch of 11 or 12 ounce bags of coffee put into a 5-gallon bucket, and every time I refill it, I have to pull them out and put the new ones on the bottom and then put the older ones on top. Now, my trick for this is that that's probably a good 6 months worth of coffee for us. And that doesn't mean I'm not buying coffee for 6 months. What that means is when I go shopping on my monthly shopping, the coffee that I purchase goes into the bottom of that bucket so that it raises that bucket back up to full. And that way I've still got, no matter what, 6 months worth of coffee. I figure 6 months is a good number for my coffee, because if anything happens and I can no longer get coffee, oh, that would be a horrible day. But in addition to that, that would give me time to wean myself off of it proper instead of a cold, hard caffeine withdrawal. So that's how I work literally with every single food source in my pantry, though. If I use it during that month, if it's a dry good, then the next time I go shopping or the next time I see it go on sale, I will purchase enough to bring me back up to the time frame that I am saving it for. That is the easiest way to maintain it while still using it. Sometimes that also means that you have to pull stuff off the shelf that was up there, put the new stuff all the way at the back, and then put the old stuff back up in front of it. Is it convenient? Probably not. Is it better than a dentist appointment? Yeah, most of the time, so pick your battles. That's just the way that it rolls. That's the way to make sure that you are always using the oldest item first, and that if anything happens, you're not looking at a bunch of food that's not palatable, not safe to eat, or has exploded somehow all over the inside of your pantry. Don't do that. That's not good. And that's where number 10 comes in, okay? You want to review and update your emergency plans. Update your food storage plans based on family size, dietary changes, or updated emergency guidelines. You guys know for many years I cooked dinner for 10 people every single week, and that was what we did as a family. As we got together on Sunday and we had a big family dinner. Well, as the grandkids got older, they're busier, family's busier, everybody's busier. People have passed away, people have moved, people joined the military, and so I have less bodies at my table. And then it's pretty much just Phil and I. And so because of that, I have had to seriously adjust multiple times how much I put up, because that dinner for 10 helped me regularly rotate through my pantry. It was part of the math equation when I stocked up. However, now a lot of those people are not here, in the area. And so it doesn't make sense to stock all of that extra food because it won't be used in an appropriate time. It won't be worked through in an appropriate time. In addition to that, as days go on, health situations change, different situations happen. And so it's, always a good idea to stay on top of that, because let's say you are not diabetic and, you're just enjoying life with Twinkies and everything else you can think of. And then 4 years later, your doctor says, whoa, dude, you're diabetic. We need to do something about this, which means you're going to significantly adjust your diet, hopefully, and hopefully work on getting healthier. So you need to take into consideration things like that. Also things like, as we move along in this life, our tastes change. Then there's the seasons, definitely the seasons. Seasons of the year determine very much what Phil and I eat and how we eat it. And so you have to factor that into the play also. So reviewing your pantry, reviewing your emergency plans, keeping an updated inventory is important to make sure that you are not just stacking it and being wasteful, you're stacking it and it's getting used. If your family's nutritional needs change, you need to adjust your menus, stock different quantities, the whole kit and caboodle changes. And sometimes it's a bit of an adjustment, but it can be done. Hopefully this gave you some ideas to think about, to look for regarding the differences between short-term, 3 days, mid-term, 3 weeks, or long-term food storage, providing, clear steps, hopefully, that will help you build an awesome pantry, some practical examples, I hope, and, budgeting tips, because you're not going to do it all at one time. It's going to happen over time. Trust me on this one. Whether you're preparing for a brief outage or planning for an extended emergency, you now have the information needed to build a food supply strategy that suits your family's need. Remember, if you don't eat it today, don't stock it. I don't believe in bartering. I don't believe in spending my hard-earned money at the potential of one day zombies walking down the street and you bartering alcohol, cigarettes, or whatever the case may be with somebody to help protect you. That's not what this is about. This is about life's everyday emergencies, because every day something happens somewhere. Remember to check out a video here on how to start your 3-day pantry if you're just starting out, or as a refresher if you have already done it and it was quite a while ago. Until next time, everybody, be safe, stack it to the rafters, my friends.